to our next session for today. Cinema is one of the most powerful forms of entertainment. A larger-than-life screen, comfortable cinema chairs, coupled with an incredible sound and lighting system. Ultimately, movie theaters need to stop competing on convenience and start focusing on experience. There are a lot of opportunities worth exploring when it comes to an elevated viewing experience in movie theaters. And some of these possibilities have already been implemented by forward-thinking establishments, and several of them are prospering because of it. Technology, screens with immersive sound systems, multi-screen formats, 4D, virtual reality are some of the core topics driving cinema in the present day. Innovation is driving a new energy in the business. Technology and innovation have radically altered the business of cinema, which is feeding through into the consumer perception, and the sector is a vibrant as well as a positive one. That is not something that we would have been so confident about a decade ago. Now, that being said, our topic for the next discussion is Cinema Design Challenges of Tomorrow. Please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Sandeep Mittal, Director, Anutone Acoustics, Founder, Theatre World Magazine, and Principal Consultant, Sound Design. I would also like to welcome on stage architect Shubhashish Modi and Satish Shetty from Arris Architects to address us on this topic.
Check. Yeah, sure. Good morning. I'm Sandeep Mittal, and you know, already thanks Michelle for the introduction. Principally now I'm a director at Anutone. Earlier I have been, of course, the founder of the magazine Theatre World, and also Sound Designs, which had been designing cinemas, especially the auditorium part. Shubhash.
Hi. I am the director of Arris Architects, and we have been designing cinemas for a long time, since 2004, around more than 400 screens. And
it's not on. I think it's not on.
Hello.
I can't hear. Just
Hello.
check. Yeah, it's okay, I think.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is Satish here. Good morning, friends. I'll start with the presentation. Like, we are talking today about the future challenges in cinema design.
No, it's not heard. I can't hear.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. So the topic of the discussion is future challenges in the cinema design. It can be classified into two aspects broadly. One is the technological advancement, and second part is the design part. Technology remains the core driving force in the present day scenario. Technology such as HDR, immersive sound, and illuminations are the heart of the consumer experience, and it is by this measure that the future of cinema will be, or the technology will be judged.
Sandeep to add.
So in recent times, it started with digital 3D, which remains the main format of cinema screens. Like most of the cinemas are adapted to 3D. All the English movies are coming in the 3D format, and even the Indian movies are now adapting to 3D. Xenon bulbs, which used to illuminate the entire cinemas, is getting converted into laser technologies and mercuries.
Yeah, so just to add here, you know, up to 2D cinema, whatever was coming via the xenon lamp was good enough. But once 3D came into the picture, the illumination on the screen was found to be very inadequate, and hence the need to go beyond the xenon. And so we have now the laser and other forms of lighting up the screen, which are at the nascent stage, but which will play the role in the next decade. So that's what is what has been said. And also, of course, the sound, 3D sound, as in sound coming from all the 4 corners, all the 5 surfaces. Only the floor is left now. You have all the 4 walls and the ceiling from where sound gets emitted. Next, maybe from the floor as well in the future.
Virtual reality is also making its presence felt in the cinema. In fact, IMAX VR is taking a lead in this, and they are creating consoles in VR. And VR is actually not like replacing the cinema, but it is actually complementing the cinema experiences.
Well, not really. I mean, not exactly. See, the need for this topic and this session is about cinema design and how we bring the audience back to the cinemas again and again. I was giving the example to Shubhashish, that, you know, my going to a microbrewery in Bangalore is quite addictive, because at home I can't brew beer, fresh beer. I need to go to a microbrewery, and whichever near my area is the best, I go there again and again. Similarly, we need to make cinema watching, going to the cinema, addictive experience, and that can only happen when you have good cinema design and the attraction or the magnetic pull to bring in the same audiences again and again. So that's where this whole session is coming from, and that's where we have this kind of a format where Shubhashish and the team from Arris, they give a presentation, and I am just putting in some points. As a cinema goer, as being a designer earlier of a cinema auditorium, as being somebody who has traveled the world on theatre world duties earlier, and of course now as director of Anutone. Yeah, please continue. So, okay, just to add to that point, sorry. So VR, so now, at least for the big cities, the metro cities, the tier 1 cities, we have the sporting entertainment which has come up in India last few years, not just IPL, but now you have sporting events as in kabaddi, football, badminton, all the pro leagues, which are going to become an important sporting destination entertainment kind of experience. And so how cinema can compete with sporting events, which are not just sports, but also entertainment. And on the other side, we have VR, augmented reality, where a millennial person can just sit at home and have the experience of a cinema, of course not a big screen, but sitting by himself or herself, they can experience the cinema. So between these two, how we can still make cinema relevant, as in people coming and watching cinemas. Sorry, I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
So with the advancement of these technologies, acoustics plays a very pivotal role in the cinema design. So, and the thing is, with these technologies, wherein your screens are very bigger, like white to white, like wall to wall, and it touches
so
the floor.
I think I've got more speaking to do in the starting, then you can add on. So when it comes to acoustics, I get all excited, being in that space for so many years. Well, in India, we still have the rake system made by the builder, and we still have wet walls or brick walls, very heavy walls, as the demising wall between the screens. But slowly that will change as it has changed in the advanced countries. All that a cinema owner gets is a flat floor. All that he gets is a flat floor. You have to build your walls and your stadium seating, and after 10 years of lease, you may have to take it away. So you have to make it in a way where it is easily installed and easily dismantled after 10 years, which means you can no longer think of concrete and brick walls. You have to think of lightweight structures, metal structures, dry walls as the demising wall. Demising means the wall which separates the screens, and in a manner which can be fast, lightweight, and yet within the budget. And after 10 years or 20 years of the lease, you may be asked to walk away, or you may want to walk away, leaving a flat floor again for the builder. So, okay, I'll just continue because this is about acoustics. Now more than ever, because of the 3D sound system, it's called 3D because of sound coming from everywhere, it's important that the sound of the screens are isolated from each other, and hence the importance of the demising wall. Still in many multiplexes where I visit, and I've seen and I've heard that sound travels between screens, that does spoil the cinematic experience, the theatrical experience. So the demising wall, the wall between screens is all the more important. Structurally, how it can be decoupled. The entire cinemas make screens like box within box, so they are kind of floating. Acoustically, they are resilient, decoupled from the structure, so that the low frequency, which is the main issue in cinemas, does not travel to the next. All the more important for 3D sound, for immersive sound, to have the experience, we need to effectively isolate the sound in each of the screens, for which we need to plan in advance, tell the kind of loading to the builder that will come in each screen for the floor on the top, and make sure the provision is made in the budget and in the structural weight of the building for such measures.
To add to those points, like generally we have seen that most of the cinemas in South, they got a hard flooring, like a granite flooring or a tile flooring. So like if you are going to use RO or Atmos, you need to also take care about the seating also, the cushion, the material which is used in the seating, those should not be reflective.
Very relevant point. Now the sound is being focused on the audience. Earlier only from the screens and from the surround speakers. Now you have the sound coming in from the ceiling as well. So the flooring and the seating makes a difference. Very good point.
So this is where like a normal screen was converted into a IMAX screen, where the slope of the IMAX is very high to get a proper viewing sight lines. So this was done through lightweight material like Modi foam over here.
Satish, I'll continue from here. Actually, when we talk of cinemas, we are always talking about the in-cinema experience. It is of the cinema hall itself, when we are within the cinema. But I think that's not all. I mean, as architects and as designers, one has to think of many things. It is right from the point you enter into the building, which is the cinema building or a mall, till the point you enter the cinema screen. So basically, it's the experience, the overall experience. And experience today has become a commodity. I mean, there's so much competitiveness in experience. And that is why you see so many cinemas with so many different...
Just come near the mic here.
So many cinemas coming up with different designs. And, this has become one of the most important things. Like we talk of immersive sound system, we talk of HD. At the same time, the immersiveness of the experience of cinema by itself, it totally depends upon the design. The design has to be such that, it has an impact on you overall. That is why you would like to go again and again to a same place. Otherwise, just watching a movie can be anywhere, at any place. Like while we design, we would think of all the points like interface, first of all. Like how do you come across the cinema first? It is the most important point where you decide upon to go inside. I'll just explain all the points.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. As a cinema goer, my first worry is where do I put my vehicle? I'm driving my car. It's a good sedan or SUV. where do I put it? So the first interface for me is not the lobby. The first interface for me is where do I put my car? Is it going to be a pleasing experience or will it be an irritation? So interface, as you rightly put it, from the time I enter the space, it may be a mall, it may be a single screen, to the time I exit, it needs to be a pleasing experience and an experience which will bring me back to that cinema again and again. So right from where I park my car, or if I'm getting off from the Ola or the Uber, are there dedicated lanes for these taxis? Or if I'm coming by walk from a metro station, how's the path? Do I have to step over stones or potholes or open drain and then come to the cinema? Or is it a smooth path? If you be to Hong Kong, you'll know how important is the pedestrians, how much the government gives importance to the walkways there. On the second floor or third floor, you have all the buildings connected, or on the ground. So similar infrastructure. Maybe everything is not in our hands as the cinema owner or designer, but we can look into it and lobby with the mall owner, the builder, and even the municipal on these points.
In fact, while taking up a place or deciding upon for a multiplex, you should always look into 3 C's, which is comfort, configuration, and circulation. Comfort is how do you get down, how do you, air conditioning, everything, whether the mall is air conditioned or not, and how the escalators are placed, whether they lead to the cinema or not. Second is circulation, right from parking till the top level, and configuration, what is around you. I mean, you cannot be standing next to an office. As a cinema, probably a food court is a nice contribution. You might exit out into a food court that adds to the business of the cinema. So this is for multiplexes. At the same time, for single screens also, it's important to have food options and certain areas wherein you can indulge more. So as a cinema designer or as a person who provides or creates that experience, few things are very important. We will distinguish them into 5 I's, which is interface, we have already discussed. Second is involve, wherein how do you involve people? Like today's generation, we have been talking of HDR, HDAF. There is one more HD, which is hyperactive disorder with the new generation. I mean, the millennials, they have so many things to do. So you need to involve them. That is, a very important point. You need to have a pre-function area wherein they come and they involve themselves in a particular...
So that the parents can watch the movie and the babies can be elsewhere and the babies don't disturb the audience as such.
Very much possible, provided you have additional staff to take care of it.
Yeah, of course. I think cinema owners, if they're here, they can think of it, because the babies are not interested to see movies. Yeah, okay, Satyam Cinema has it seems, which is a good feature. I think other cinema owners should also incorporate that. The parents want to see the movie undisturbed, and also the audience wants to see the movie undisturbed. We don't want babies around, and if you have a crash, I think that's a very useful facility.
In fact, it becomes important when you're doing a retrofit or converting a single screen into multiplex, because there are not many opportunities for the parents to leave the babies. I mean, in multiplexes, there might be, in malls, there might be other opportunities also. So while doing single screen or converting single screen, you should always keep this in mind.
So we'll go a bit fast. I think the time is limited. We started late. Yeah.
Then lastly, we have the impact elements, like the features. Today, everybody wants to see talk about things, what's, different in the particular thing. Overall precinct, maybe they would not catch, but certain elements, and especially the light elements like the chandeliers, are very important while you're designing, so that those elements keep ringing in your mind and they make an impact and the next time when you come.
So this is about the cinemas in the major cities, metro cities, the tier 1 cities. For tier 3, tier 4, and yesterday there was a very good presentation from Naveen of Cube that, India is an under-screened country compared to USA and China. USA may be very affluent as a country, but if you compare with China, we remain a very, very under-screened country, especially in the tier 3 and the tier 4 cities. So whereas the concepts, I mean the 5 I's, they would apply to both the metro and the smaller cities. The budgets may be different, the spaces may be smaller, or even I saw yesterday the award winner of the single screen SVR visuals. That was a very nice cinema in a very small town. So it depends. But of course, cinema is the only form of mass entertainment for Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities. Tier 1 is getting mass entertainment from sporting events as well. So these points have to be kept in mind while we design the cinema. Just to add one more point, just to add some more information. I mean, I see a lot of young people here, but I don't know if they know George Lucas, when he launched, when he released Star Wars, the first movie in the late 70s, I think. In India, it came in the late 70s. The first movie. And he himself went to the cinema hall to see the movie. He was quite shocked because what he had intended in the studio to be seen and heard was not the same experience that he got in the cinema hall. And that's when he started the THX, which was a kind of a certification program for cinema owners. And he said that I will make sure that cinemas are THX certified so that the end user of the cinema, the movie goer, can differentiate between a good cinema hall and a not so good cinema hall. And that's when the THX program had started. So the point is that what is mixed in the studio, and I happen to be in Yashra Studios in Bombay, in Andheri, and watch and hear some of the mixing being done. A lot of effort is put into movies. A lot of effort is put into movie making in terms of visuals, in terms of the audio, in terms of sound. And if a cinema cannot reproduce what the director had intended, then the cinema hall is certainly lacking. And that is where the good cinema design comes in, especially for the auditorium, in terms of being able to reproduce the movie just as the director had intended in the studio. So I hope that these points are considered. A good presentation from Arris Architects. If you have any Q&A, you can have short Q&A, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Any questions from the audience? Did you see it all or did you sleep it all? Yes, sir. So you saw it all.
This is a topic which I'm very much interested in.
Put the mic. Can you put the mic closer?
Can you hear me all?
Yeah, I can now.
Yeah, this is a topic which has interested me a great deal. And I am a consultant in cinema. One of the critical aspects of a cinema design, I think, is the proportions of the auditorium.
Yeah.
How important do you think is the proportions of the auditorium? Because as far as I'm concerned, unless these proportions are correct, you won't get good picture, you won't get good sound, you won't get good sight lines. Very good point. Very good question, a very good comment or observation. You want to answer that? Or?
Yeah, definitely. This is a very important point. And actually, we do feasibility of cinema even before jumping onto the cinema design. And that's the part of the planning of the cinema. So that is where we take care of the proportions and everything. Once it is all set, only then we go to the design areas of lobbies and cinemas. So actually, whatever you have seen is embellishment, and we are talking of the experience. Certainly your point is valid when it comes to the proportions of cinema, but it has always been taken care before we start designing anything else.
So here comes the point that when single screen owners think of dividing the screen, they lose on this kind of length, width and height ratio, and also the screen shrinks. So in designing or retrofitting old cinemas, we need to take more attention. We need to pay on the size of the halls. Like if the width is 1, then the height should be 0.67, length should be 1.5 times. Whatever the golden ratio, that should be maintained. And definitely that adds to the cinema experience, both from the point of view of viewing the picture and from the point of view of the sound moving around. All the more the reason for immersive sound. When you have 3D sound, all the more you want to be able to experience the sound moving around in the hall. So the ratio, the length, width and height ratio is very, very important. Very good point, sir.
In fact, I've seen some of the cinemas in South which are not proportionate, where the length of the cinemas is nearly the 3 times of the width. And
like a tunnel.
It's like a tunnel. If you're sitting at the last row, it's like a home theater kind, not even like a home theater. It's like watching a TV.
So if you are going to replicate the home theater experience in a cinema, there's no point. A cinema must give the big picture, the big sound. Yes, anybody else? Questions, please? You want to write and give it? If you don't want to speak it, be okay for that? No? Okay then. Thank you very much.